Good afternoon. My name is Takiwa Smith. I am CEO and Principal Consultant of Kemet Educational Services, and welcome to today's Cupcakes and Konvos. So before we start our official program, our guest today, Christine Stokes Beverly, is actually my childhood friend. We've known each other since high school. And so we're just going to take a moment because today is an historic day and win for Black women.
Yes.
And I'm an HBCU alum, and Christine is a member of the Divine Nine. And so we just want to celebrate this Black girl magic, win with Black women. Black women lead, HBCU alumna leave their campuses and make huge differences in the world, and celebrate this moment of Kamala Harris being elected VP elect, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing, big shout outs, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Big shout out, to Kamala Harris and my sister Greeks of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. I'm also of Jamaican descent. So, of course, we're a bit insufferable right now, right along with Howard grads, HBCU grads, but it's just amazing. When I heard the news, my son and I, we watched, and, I found myself crying, and I'm not a very emotional person, but, just the magnitude of what this means, and, what it means for, little Black girls, they're going to, just in a few months, somebody is going to, be, the second most powerful person in the country, and she looks like them. So it's a great day today. Great day.
And walking in this world as her authentic Black self, right? You and I know, although people try to define Blackness and what it looks like, there's a diversity of experience of how we walk through the world in our Blackness as Black women,
Absolutely.
And to just see her with a happy Black woman who, has the ability to walk through different spaces, right? But she's always happy and joyful. She has her lawyer attire, like the suits, right? But then she has her blazer, jeans, and chucks, right?
Exactly.
And Tims and jackets, right? And so to see all of that, to see her, put hot sauce on her greens, talk to people, that conversation with her niece about being an astronaut president, and her niece would be like, no, my daughter wants to be an astronaut and a president, right? And just seeing that joy. And, there's this shirt that I love, and I keep, forgetting how to say that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, right? And you see that with her, right? And just a moment to celebrate that, but also be thankful for the ancestors. I mean, there's a lot of progress, on ways to go. We need to pay Black women, celebrate Black women, thank Black women, but just to celebrate this moment where you see the sacrifices that our ancestors made to make things a little better for us, and then to see that play out with Kamala Harris being VP.
Exactly.
And that's all I'm going to say, because anything else I would say will, get into politics. But you're actually the one that texted me. I was in my kitchen making soup and kale smoothies trying to get here. So, yeah. So just want to honor it. I feel like, all our connections to her, like we could not start without just honoring that moment, right?
Absolutely. Definitely.
So
great day.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I intentionally changed to celebrate my FAMU, and show my HBCU pride, my fellow HBCU alum.
I see. And I thought about that. Coming in, because I had my whole outfit ready. I was like, okay, I want to be bright on camera, and for a split second, I was like, should I wear? I was like, I don't know if it's going to be bright enough, but yeah. So if any of
I don't.
This is blue, pretend this is blue. So
I know. I don't know what you could do. Certain colors you just can't make bright, right? So you just have to make the choice, right? So,
right.
But you look great in your pink. So let's
Yes.
focus. I know it's going to be hard to focus at me because I'm super
Right.
excited. But one of the reasons, and you are my last Cupcakes and Convos for 2020. And not to say that there is not more conversation. We are going to pick the conversation up in 2021. But the holidays are coming up soon, right? And the next one would be, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and just knowing like, although we cannot travel, right? Um,
Right.
the reality of it is we may need to have a moment to adjust to what the shelter in place Thanksgiving will look like. And just not wanting to be in that space where I'm just like, let me ask my guest to give up her Saturday before Thanksgiving to have a conversation, right? And we all know December, we just count down to the new year trying to get, our personal and professional life. So the conversation will begin again in 2021. But I think you're a perfect close to right before the holidays because Christine is a ed tech expert. We've been talking about how to celebrate and own that, right? I a couple of years ago when you were like, I'm an ed tech fellow at the Department of Education. I'm like, how are you not saying you're an ed tech fellow? Like, you crazy for expert. You crazy. Like, you are an ed tech fellow at the Department of Ed. That's on a national scale, honor that not everybody had that opportunity. And so, uh, especially in this pandemic, but I we're going to talk about it a little bit because I do think that digital learning has taken place before and there have been tools, but this pandemic has really made us more aware of them and to learn what they are. And so that is what we're going to have, our conversation about
Absolutely.
digital learning, tools for digital learning, and then especially as the holidays come, what can we do for the fun digital learning?
Absolutely.
So and
Absolutely.
so my first question is also another receipt for you. Christine is an ed tech coordinator in a school district. So she is not only doing this, as a parent who is, navigating for her kids, but also as a educator and as the owner of a consulting firm that does ed tech and a podcast that talks all about digital parenting life, right? And
Absolutely.
so I am super excited to have you here because I've had my own little trials with digital learning and learning stuff like, okay. So I'm sure a lot of parents are like that. And so uh, first question is, what is digital learning like? I mean, I feel like people just think it's apps or whatever, and it probably encompasses more than we even think it does. So what is digital learning?
Absolutely. So first, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited, to have this conversation with you. We have conversations regularly, but I'm excited for people to hear, the conversations that we have. So to
Mhm.
your question, what is digital learning? I think sometimes we as parents we overthink it. It's it's honestly, it's still the essence of learning. So I think people hear that word digital, especially now when we're in a situation where some of our school districts in the nation, they're a little slow to the take on bringing students back in the classrooms, and
Mhm.
parents are like, okay, I'm tired of this, throw this computer out the window. Digital learning is just taking the learning experiences that our children have, and not even just our children but we as adults have, and we're
Mhm.
using digital tools to facilitate that learning. Great digital learning, and that's a key here. Great digital learning completely redefines face-to-face learning and the way that we've traditionally learned. So what does that mean? So for example, let's say pre-technological time, well, I don't want to say pre-technological times, but pre-2020, a student wanted to learn about something in the scientific field, and you learn via textbooks. You might have been able to bring somebody in, the classroom, for example. You may have even, if your teacher, had the funding, you may have even been able to do the experiment. But digital learning allows us to take it to the next level, where we can incorporate, if there's, for example, if there's a student in the class that has, an allergy, but they still want to take part in an experiment, we can bring in a virtual experiment. If there is someone that is an expert in the field, but they live 5,000 miles away, it's not like in 1989, where we couldn't bring the person into the classroom. All we need is a Skype connection or a Zoom connection and high-speed internet access and a device. And the device doesn't even have to be a computer. Our students, they have access to this, via, cell phones. So that's what digital learning is. It's great digital learning, I should say. It allows us to take traditional learning experiences and bring them to the next level. And some of that is happening every day in our classrooms. And it's just amazing when you get a chance to sit and watch it.
That's good. And so my question to you, you're a parent, you're an educator, right? So let me come back. What are some tools that existed in digital learning before this pandemic, right? And then how does the pandemic and sheltering in place and a remote instruction impacted the use of those tools? And are there new tools that are being implemented, created, that are now used? Because in some districts, like you said, remote instruction is how they're doing it because they're not sending their kids back to the classroom yet.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you what I saw, because the district that I'm in, like every other district, we started with digital learning in March. I'll never forget it. We kind of got the rumblings, I would say like a week before. You kind of hear all right, make sure everything is in place. And then it was literally, okay, you're going home, leave today. Back in March, what I found was a lot of people were, just scrambling to use tools, just a wide variety of tools, just to kind of figure out what stuck. And what my fellow instructional technology coordinators, ed tech leaders in the field, what we've pushed is use what works. Less is more. So to your point, what I'm finding this school year, we're finding a lot of our students, they're starting to really learn how to use the collaborative tools that we use even better. And it may surprise some parents, but it's so true. Pre-COVID, I found that even, and I've talked to various parents, and I've even seen this in my professional life, even though our students had access to to computers and devices and, mobile devices and technology, they didn't know how to use it well. So I'm finding this school year during the pandemic, they're polishing the skills and using collaborative resources. And what do I mean by that? Our kids are learning how to actually, use Google Docs and use it well, use it with fidelity, learning how to use Google Sheets and so on and so forth, or even taking what's on our computers, for example, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, and learning about those collaborative pieces that are there. I'm also finding that our students are really getting better at learning how to collaborate with each other. So using resources such as at the older level, I'm finding they're using Kanbans, if you will, if you haven't heard what that is, where they use it's basically applications where, they can create a project management applications where they're working and they have the various tasks listed and they're sharing files amongst each other. So they're getting really good at that. And that's so surprising to me because, I was thinking that, my teachers wouldn't listen to the less is more, but they're really understanding that they're still the educator and, these digital resources out there, but education can't happen without, somebody being there to share that knowledge, if you will, even if it's an application that's created or, a video streaming like we're doing here. So students are getting a lot better with that. And it's
they should, like, they can figure out TikTok. So it's not a matter of, I remember 2 years ago, my niece was 4. I left her reading a book on my tablet. I literally went to the bathroom. She was watching something on Netflix. She couldn't even read then. I'm just like,
exactly.
how do you figure out how to get out the Kindle app into Netflix and she found a kid film. So I was just like, oh, she's on Netflix. Maybe she has a inappropriate, but she found the thing. So if they're knowing how to do this already, it's just a matter of them learning how to do it in another form. They're tech savvy, right? Already, right?
I'll say this, they're tech savvy to an extent, because I
Okay.
think that's the biggest misconception that people have. And I see it every year. I work at a high school level, and I see the kids come in ninth grade, and some of them, you would automatically think, okay, I'm going to give you a link to a Google Doc. You're going to know what to do. And more often than not, they don't. They know how to get to YouTube. They know how to get to, Snapchat, Discord, and, all of the other applications they use. But, knowing those skills that you need to be in the workplace, that's where they would kind of lag. So I'm finding that, during this pandemic, those skills are being sharpened with our students. And even amongst our adults ourselves, because you can say that we're learning, how to use, streaming platforms, and we're learning how to, share documents amongst each other and collaborate on documents. So I would say that's what's really starting to, those skills are really starting to be refined from the school perspective, I should say.
So I have a question, because I saw this problem and it just came up now, where one of my friends posted it, but I've seen it all the time, where like your school district was prepared. I guess it's better because at least kids already had their devices in their hands. So you had some technology planned. But for those parents who are forced to do digital learning, right, and they have problems like no hotspot access, right, because for various reasons, not everybody has a good Wi-Fi connection, and it diverse, varies from socioeconomic levels. So you can't say, oh, only poor rural kids.
Correct.
I lived in the Bay Area, and there were times my internet was sketchy, right?
Correct.
Or, you have these school districts where kids did not have devices, right? And they had to rush to get devices. So now you have school districts ordering them, or now kids are on their second and third devices, and although school districts won't admit it, there is no surplus of devices, right? So if you're on, they may not have a third one to give a student if the first two don't work, right?
Right.
So how do parents make those adjustments to not disrupt their child's learning, where we're having these issues with internet connection, high speed, secure, safe internet connections, and with devices? Like, what are there any workarounds for that?
Absolutely. So the first thing that I would say to parents is, because I feel like some districts aren't really doing a good job of communicating to parents, what's available. So there's a website, everyoneon.org. That's a really great website to go to, and you can find if you can find out about the high-speed internet access in your area and what's available. If you run into a situation where the internet access that your district gives you, because this is the other thing that I want to say that I think gets lost in the shuffle. We do have districts providing families with subsidized internet access, but it's not made clear that subsidized internet access that you're providing may not be enough if you have multiple children in the house and all of the children are going to be on video classes at the same time. Because this is what I deal with every day at work, and having to share that with parents. And I've actually cautioned parents on that. And and I've said to them, just a heads up, this isn't going to be, the fastest internet that's available. So
I get kicked off with my devices because it's multiple people in my household, and sometimes it goes slow. And
Exactly.
my tablet has not connected to my internet all week. It's like my internet provider's like, too many devices, so this one gonna not be on, right?
Exactly. And, in that sense, if you want to keep your child learning, it's the middle of the school day, you're working from home, you have two kids, if you have a partner, or your spouse is working from home as well. I just described my house, what we have done before, because we've had to do this, what I tell families is, during the school day, you might need to pull those extra devices off of the network. So, for example, if your kids play Xbox, pull the Xbox off the network. If, you have your phones that tend to connect to the network and you're kind of, looking at something on your phone at the same time, take things off of the network and just keep your children's devices on the network so that they can connect. What I also wanted to share was, in case there's an instance where, you're still waiting for the school district to provide you either with a hotspot, because some districts are providing hotspots. If Xfinity Wi-Fi is in your area, they've opened the Wi-Fi. So, and it's funny because yes, my phone is connecting to it while I drive. It's like I hear it on my phone, and I've used it while I've been out and about, and it's open.
But how would you know that? Because I have not seen that. So who tells parents that? No
they
one.
Don't. Exactly. So in my experience, at least here in the DC area, I know it's definitely open. So that's what I wanted to share. I wanted us to get back to, I don't know if this is a question that you were having, but I want us to get back to tools that parents can use, to make sure their child stays on top of, that their child doesn't lose learning gains. But I don't know if you had that question, but I wanted to share it too.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I just wanted to get over that because that's something I just saw this morning, somebody fussing about the access to internet and the fact that, they were on their third device and, how could they learn if they don't even have the device? And then a lot of times, this particular person has the ability to purchase their own device. And what they found out, they purchased it and they weren't able to have access to the materials because the school was like, it has to be on a school district device. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So many things are in the cloud right now. I could see if it was testing, you know what I mean? If it was standardized testing season, I can totally understand, okay, you have to test on, obviously you want to test on the school district device, but most educational resources, most of them, like in my opinion, 99% of them, as long as you have an internet connection and a device, you can access them. It's like our jobs, you know what I mean? For the most part. As long as we have a device and a steady internet connection, you can access them.
But as all tech departments aren't equal at school districts, right? So
exactly. Another thing that I wanted to share with folks is don't underestimate the value of your mobile phone plan. Take a look at your phone plan because sometimes we have resources there that's hidden that we don't even realize. I didn't realize that my cell phone provider, I have an unlimited plan, provides me with a mobile hotspot. They give me I think 50 gigabytes a month, and the internet went out in my house, and it was like, okay, this is not good. I have 2 kids that need to be in school. I can take a day off, but I don't need that for them. And sure enough, just a quick scan at, what was available in my plan. It was like, oh, turn the phone on. So take a look at that. Especially, if you find that, you lose internet access at home or you're waiting to get internet access. Also look around your local community. A lot of communities, especially in more densely packed communities, what we're finding is there are some partnerships with school districts. It's happening in spots across the nation. I know we have one area here where it's happening, and they're opening up their Wi-Fi. So what that means is they're expanding the access. So it's going a little further. We're also finding that, and this is obviously going to take time, but some municipalities, they're opening up their Wi-Fi at their libraries, and you're seeing that they're having these, I guess they call them connectivity spaces where you just park and connect, in a pinch if you need to. It's not perfect, but if it's a situation where your child has, a presentation that's due and, they need to present and, let's keep it real, every teacher in the world isn't the most flexible, that it's, it's a solution. It's a quick solution.
Mm-hmm. So the question that and I can't believe I forgot it, right? Because I was like, we're pinning it so you can finish this. But you were just saying that how parents need to feel about their ownership in their digital learning? That's
Yes.
what we were going next. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. What I wanted to do, because, even though I share what's, the tools that are being used in school, I wanted to share some other tools that are out there that I think parents can really, benefit from using, because you've seen it on social media just like I do. You've seen the memes out there where parents are like, oh, well, I should get the teacher's pay because I'm the teacher as well. And I'm sitting here trying to figure this stuff out and things like that. I wanted to share just a couple of resources that I think parents may find
Okay.
helpful. The first one that I think is so huge, especially in light of, a lot of parents feeling like, their child, may have lost,
Mhm.
some of what they've learned. There's a website called bealearninghero.org. And if you click on the parent tab, there is an option called readiness check. And it's great for parents of students between, kindergarten and eighth grade. And it allows you, what I love about it is it allows you to just kind of check to see where your child is as it relates to reading and math and their grade level. And then it's a quick little quiz that your child takes. It literally takes maybe 5 minutes, if that. And then it gives you resources that, you can share with your child, to teach them about various concepts. So one of the things that it linked to with my son, I've used it with my fifth grader. I have a fifth grader and a 10th grader. It linked to resources that I could share with him, about various topics. It get linked to time for kids. It links to just a wide variety of resources. And, I like that, and I highly recommend that. So bealearninghero.org is a good one. The next one, it's tried and true. And I say that because I know some people already know about it, but do not underestimate Khan Academy. Do not underestimate it. They even actually came out with a Khan Academy Kids earlier this year for children ages 2 to 7. And the reason why I say don't underestimate, I should say, Khan Academy is because, when your child hits those later years. I have a son in pre-calculus. I'm a certified math teacher, but I have not taught math in over 7 years because I moved into an instructional technology role. So that is a great resource that as all of you parents that like to talk about the new math, you can go there, and it has, videos, and it has, just little resources that you can use with your children. I used it over the summer with my kids just to kind of avoid that summer slide. And what that is where, you kind of lose your learning gains. What I can say about Khan Academy is there's a reason why, if you will, there's a reason why they get awards. There's a reason why, they have partnerships, with various educational organizations. The last one that I wanted to mention, and this is for our, listeners who have high school students taking AP classes. There's a site called fiveable.me. They basically provide resources for students as they go through taking an AP course. They have live study sessions. They have live videos. It's a great resource. My son, I have a 10th grader. Last year, in ninth grade, he took two AP classes. And I'm the mom of a Black boy, obviously. And Black children are underrepresented in AP classes, and I wanted him to succeed. And I wanted to make sure he had the resources necessary, and he passed his 2 tests. You know what I mean? One of them was one of the hardest AP tests, and I know he used that site to help him. So definitely check those out. I've used them, and my kids have used them. They haven't complained. So I hope that answers that question. I wanted to share those.
And another tip too, like, because we can focus on STEM. If your children are on TikTok or Instagram, there are a lot of STEM professionals that either have science academies or TikTok videos where you can learn so much because they're sharing. There's this, I don't like animals. I'm a chemical engineer. And there's this woman, Jada. She's a graduate student. I cannot stop watching her videos of her talk about sharks and different animals. right? And she does them in 60 seconds or less, but she shares so much. And so, I know sometimes you're like, oh, limit our kids' social media. Just find the expert in that field. A lot of them are starting to do TikTok, and some of them are having partnerships with like museums, and
Yes.
some of them are going on lives. I'm seeing all these life science do it and chemists more, but there's this woman that has Find a Lizard every Wednesday on IG and Twitter, right? It's now that I'm trying to tell you it's gone. I think it's Lizzie Herber or something like that. But she has a Find a Lizard. And so all of those things that you can do to have your child learn, which I guess segues into the next thing, right? It is the holidays, right? Coming up soon. And so, yes, I definitely agree that the holidays are a great time if your child is behind to engage them in, academic development activities to help them, stay on point, review concepts that they may have moved too fast. But holidays are also about fun, right? And especially if you are continuing to shelter in place and you may not be doing some of the things that you would normally do, or it's just cold, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to go outside in the cold. What are some fun academic enrichment digital learning tools that we could use in ways, or even if it's as simple as like a camera app on our phone, to get kids in the fun educational learning or games?
Okay. Um, I want to actually say, it actually, what I'm finding what's happening is it goes back to what you were referring to with TikTok and that social aspect of it, or the human aspect, I should say. That
Mhm.
is big right now. I think people are finding, we can give you all the apps in the world, but you're missing that human aspect when you're isolated. So what I'm
Okay.
finding, a lot of our libraries, museums, our parks and rec departments and such, what they're doing is all of the things that you suggested, bringing people in, and so on and so forth. What they're doing is they're doing video, they're doing live streams, and they're doing Zooms and such, and they're mailing, the tools that you need to participate. That is
Okay.
so huge. And I say that, and I'll give you an example. If you look at your local area's activities guide. So, for example, up here, Montgomery County and Prince George's County, they have activity guides that come out every season. So the
So who
winner,
does is it Park and Rec or the library or both of them?
yeah, the Park and
Okay.
Rec. So
Okay.
I looked at it maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, and I wouldn't think that they would pivot like that and say, okay, we're still going to do a cooking class, and we're still going to do a cooking piece that talks about science and things like that, but we're going to be on Zoom and we're all going to talk with each other while we cook. And that may seem so small, but it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, where we're transforming that learning. So you're helping that family that has to shelter. We all should be sheltering in place, but for the family that may have that child that is immunocompromised, or the family that excuse me, before they weren't able to participate in these types of activities because, of the time constraint or things like that, or the distance, we can now do that together. So definitely look at that. Libraries, museums, my local library, actually, they were having a conversation with a scientist today. They were doing, it was a huge deal. That human aspect is still there. So I recommend, just go look in your parks and recs guide, look at your museums, your libraries. It's out there. There are quite a few, there are quite a few events taking place. It's it's just a pivot. So they're all out there, and some of them are free. I saw one just yesterday. It's actually, I think it's Engineering Month here, and the activity was $2 for the kids to participate, and you would go and pick up the resources. So I hope that answers that question.
Hmm. And what about like, do you see like citizen science is something they can do this really good, like with their phones, or what can they do with their devices, or is this time to be creative? Like how can all of that work, like using technology and the devices that we have?
Absolutely. What I'm seeing with the kids
Mhm.
now is I'm seeing that kids are using their devices to solve problems, if you will. And I'm seeing
Okay.
and I know this isn't a, this isn't a science based piece, but I'm seeing kids use their devices and use the TikToks and use the Instagrams to solve problems, completely trying
Mhm.
to stay out of the political realm. But our kids were huge. Our Gen Z
Mhm.
kids were huge in the political space and trying to, solve their part, solve particular issues
Yeah,
there.
or even, if it's true, because no one, has been able to say it, but, supposedly the teens decided to use TikTok or something to have a fake enrollment for a Trump rally, right? So
They,
although that's not political, like we're not going to discuss like good or bad, whatever, right? But
right.
they use the technology and the devices to change something that they wanted to see, right? And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
that's just saying it could be what we can do over the holidays, right? Or just in general in our free time, right? Having
Right.
kids use the technology to, whether it's science problems or experiments, whether it's political issues, where it's, connect, but using that technology to do change they want to see, right?
Exactly. It's that they're using technology right now to keep that human connection. That's ultimately
Okay.
what they're using it, to maintain that human connection. And, I know some people may want to hear a particular tool or whatever, but that's ultimately what it is, where our kids are right now, what they want to do. And I see it here. I see it at my school district, and I see it on social media.
But tools vary, right? Depending on whether you have an Apple or Android, or whether you're using a tablet or your phone, what type of computer. So I think the key is, and I guess that's my next question, depending on what you have, like, how do you find those technology tools that work for your device?
Absolutely. Where we are in the world right now, a lot of the tools are app agnostic. And so, what I mean by that is if you find something is made for the iPhone, it's very likely available for Android. If it's made for PC, it's likely available for Mac. A good place for parents to go is commonsense.org. That's a good resource. Parents can go and look at some tools if you want to find, like, for example, a science tool. And you want to make sure it's age appropriate, because that's another huge piece that, I don't want to go too much in the weeds for that. But, you want to make sure you want to look at the privacy policies. You want to make sure it's kid friendly. If your child is using it. So commonsense.org is a great place to start, and you can see what's available, for what your kid may want to do. So, for example, if your kid says to you, "Mom, my friends are using this and I want to use this," you can go and do the research on that. So um, that's the best place that I can send you.
Okay. Well, any last words, advice that you want to give parents when
I
it
would
comes
just
to digital
say,
learning?
the future of digital learning. I know a lot of people are afraid of, a tool replacing an educator, a tool replacing, the parent, a tool replacing those genuine connections. And, I'm hoping people can see that, this pandemic has made it clear that the technology, it doesn't replace it, it just enhances that. So it enhances what your child's teacher is teaching in the classroom. It enhances, the connections that your child has with your friends outside. It enhances, those out of school interests that your child has.
Mhm.
So just look at it like that, as an enhancement, and not something that's trying to replace education, friendships, or face to face communication, or your child going outside and, tinkering with something, for example.
Like now your child will never go outside again when it's safe to do so, right? Because now they found their phone and their apps, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Christine. I learned a lot because I was like, app agnostic. What? Like, I don't know what that is. Um, so I put as many of your tools I thought in the chat. Some of them may be wrong, but you all can Google them to make sure they're close enough where you can Google it if I'm off a little bit, right?
Right.
And so thank you so much because I do think that one of the things that this pandemic has shown us is how we have to use technology, right? Like, and the importance of doing that and how its role is in our society, right? And the key is just to be responsible with the use of technology, right? And to find the
Absolutely.
right tools that work for what we want to achieve with technology.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. And I thank you for
Well,
having me. Definitely,
of course,
you
I
know,
feel like um, making this virtual, and when it was in person, it was just a conversation among parents, and so just wanting to keep that same thing. So appreciate you bringing your expertise.
for having me. Thank you for
We have
having
an ed tech expert doing having cupcakes and combos with us.
me. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. See you in 2021, everyone. Have a safe and enjoyable holiday season.